Hey y'all, Eve Electivire here, and let me start off by saying that next to Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Pokemon Sun and Moon are the best games in the franchise. The animation, the details, the story, and of course, the brand spanking new Pokemon are all just breathtaking. So, to show how much I love them, I'm finally ready to reveal to you my top 10 favorite Pokemon from Sun and Moon only, since I already shared with you my favorite Pokemon from Gen 6 and below. Since this is a Generation 7 list, I won't be including any old faces in this list, but I will be counting the Alolan versions of our old favorites, since they feel new to me. Of course, this is 100% my opinion, so please do respect my choices and share your favorite Sun and Moon Pokemon in the comment section below. So also don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe to show some love. Now, without further ado, let's get started with this awesome countdown. Number 10, Beware. Oh, this life-size teddy bear looks so huggable, but then again, if you were to hug it right now, it'll probably be the last hug of your life. This bear is not to be fooled by his cuddly appearance. Even the Pokédex says to beware of the beware. This immensely dangerous Pokemon possesses overwhelming physical strength. Its habitat is generally off limits. Yikes. That's how dangerous it is, but I still love this Pokemon no matter what. I even named mine after one of my favorite Tekken characters, Kuma. The Beware kinda reminds me of that dangerous brown bear, and that high physical attack is not to be messed around. The only downside to this Pokemon is his weakness to his own fighting type, but fortunately, he can take it thanks to his decent defenses. For a bear-like Pokemon that's absent of claws of any kind, it sure can pack a massive wallop. Number 9, Vikavolt. Finally, a bug-type Pokemon with my favorite type on the side that I actually like and wouldn't mind using in battle. First of all, it has my second favorite ability, Levitate. It's shared with the only other electric-type Pokemon called Eelektross. Secondly, his design is amazing. Stag beetles are one of my favorite insects, and with this Pokemon looking so vaguely close to one, he's an instant favorite. His previous evolution, Charjabug, is also a unique design. It literally looks like a living minibus with outer spark plugs. I love it. But it's Vikavolt that takes this spot on the list because he not only represents one of my favorite bugs, but it has my favorite type, my favorite ability, and it looks pretty badass. He sure is making Galvantula look super ugly right now. Number 8, Mudsdale. It's been a while since we've had a Pokemon that resembles a horse. We haven't had a good horse-like Pokemon since Ponyta and Rapidash. Now, here comes Mudbray and Mudsdale. The latter is at number 8 on this list because for a ground-type horse Pokemon, he actually looks beautiful to me. Don't think I'm sounding crazy just because I said that. The Clydesdale is my favorite breed of horse, and the Mudsdale just looks incredible. He has excellent attack, and thanks to his unique ability, Stamina, his defense gets better and better after every single hit, whether it's a special attack or not. On an even brighter note, he's a big helper towards the community. According to his Pokemon Sun Dex entry, it states that it spits a special mud that provides resistance to both the wind and rain. So the walls of old houses were often coated with it. With that kind of mud, no houses in our world would never be flooded or taken down by hurricanes or tornadoes. That's something that not even Merida's own horse, Angus, couldn't do. But I still love that horse nonetheless. Number 7. Alolan Ninetales. The first of the Alolan form of a classic that I love. Firstly, I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't a huge fan of the original Ninetales. I love the folklore behind it and everything, but design-wise, it just wasn't hitting me. Alolan Ninetales, however, turned it all around. She looks so beautiful and majestic that you probably wouldn't want to touch her. And it's not just because she's probably ice cold to the touch. All of her stats are pretty decent, having her most significant one being her speed, but her only downside is her quad weakness to steel. Hey, remember how I said the same thing about my all-time favorite mythical Pokemon Diancie and also Amora and Auroras in my previous video? Well, that doesn't bother me, and it still doesn't with this marvelous Ninetales. I even decided to keep her island nickname, Kyo. It's the perfect nickname for her. Don't piss her off though. According to her Pokemon Sun Dex entry, she creates drops of ice in her coat and showers them over her enemies. Anyone who angers her will be frozen still in an instant. So basically, if you make her mad, you'll be frozen for years as your punishment. Yikes. Finally, I know that every Ice-type Pokemon can learn the Icy Z move Sub-Zero Slammer, but Alolan Ninetales is the only Ice-type that makes it look sexy. Damn. Number 6. Toucannon. This isn't your neighborhood friendly toucan we all know and love on a certain breakfast cereal. This one is dangerous. Firstly, he's a beautiful bird. Love that beak. But don't touch it! That beak is automatically combustible at the very moment he's sent into battle. In fact, in his Pokédex entry, it clearly states that the beak can easily exceed 212 degrees Fahrenheit, causing severe burns when it hits. So, if it happens to bite the hand that feeds it, be prepared to have that hand burnt to a black, charred crisp afterwards. That's the other thing that's a problem with Toucannon. There's a lot of mistyped Pokemon here in Alola, and Toucannon is the first prime example in my list. If it has a highly flammable beak and it can learn Flame Charge, why isn't this Pokemon a flying and fire type like Talonflame and Charizard? He may not look like a fire type, but god damn it, he sure is flaming hot like one. Number 5, Solgaleo. The primary reason why I got Pokemon Sun. I love lions, I'm a morning person, and this legendary Pokemon is the physical representation of how beautiful the morning sun can be. His overall design is gorgeous, and getting him at the end of the main story was a breathtaking experience, especially since I've bonded with him so well since he was a Cosmog. It was a touching moment. His almighty roar didn't even send chills down my spine. It's music to my ears. This is also another Pokemon that's been mistyped. When I first saw this Pokemon, I immediately thought Fire and Steel type, but nope. We get Psychic and Steel instead. Plus, his signature move, Sun Steel Strike, doesn't really make any sense, despite how beautifully animated it is. Y'all know how Lucha's signature move, Flying Press, is dubbed as a flying and fighting type, right? Well, that should be the same with Solgaleo's Sun Steel Strike. The name says fire and steel all over it. See the basic word math here? Yeah, that way you can freely hit Pokemon like Carbink or Ferrothorn and still get a super effective hit on them. Number 4, Salandit and Salazzle. They both take this spot on the list because they are tied together in the most unusual way in Pokemon history. First of all, I gotta give it kudos for these two being the very first Pokemon with the poison and fire typing. It's a unique combination that'll never be forgotten. Second, they're based off of salamanders, which are my second favorite amphibians next to frogs. Third, with their unique ability, corrosion, they can use toxic on steel and poison types now. That's something all of us Pokemon fanatics have been dreaming of for the past 20 plus years since Pokemon first came out. Now, on to why they're bizarrely twisted. While Salandit are known for burning their bodily fluids to create a poisonous gas that leaves their enemies disoriented and wide open for an attack, Salazzle loves to keep a reverse harem of male Salandit that it lives with. Huh. It's odd, but it still makes Salazzle stand out. That just inspires me as an artist, though. What would the male evolved form of Salandit look like, and what would it be called? Drawing this inspired piece is going to be fun, no matter how long it takes. Number 3, the Alolan starters. Now, don't hate me for this, okay? I can't pick between all 3 of the starters, even though I started out with Rowlet. After successfully gaining Litten and Popplio through trade, it's safe to say that I truly love all 3 of these starters. Starting with Rowlet, it's a cute owl Pokemon that's a first in starter Pokemon history. Starting out with a flying type is a blessing. Charizard doesn't count here because he starts off as just a fire type Charmander. You actually start with a flying type until you evolve it into Decidueye, which is a pretty badass grass type Pokemon. Having it become a ghost type and completely scrapping the flying type doesn't bother me at all either. I love his signature move, Spirit Shackle. He literally fires an arrow at his enemy's shadow, rendering it stuck in the battlefield until either you win or your enemy. Now on to Litten. That's a cute kitten, and even after he evolves into Torracat, it's still adorable. Then here comes Incineroar. That's a bad motherfucker right there. Yeah, I just censored myself. Anyway, it's true though. The Pokédex clearly says that Incineroar has a violent, selfish disposition. If he's not in the mood to listen, he will ignore his trainer's orders with complete nonchalance. To simply put it, he's got just as bad of a demeanor as Houndoom. Except Incineroar is more of a wrestler. While I'm not a huge wrestling fan, I still give him some love despite his mean nature. So far though, he hasn't actually disobeyed me yet, and I don't think he ever will anytime soon. Oh, and I cannot forget that I love his signature move, Darkest Lariat, and his Z move variation called Malicious Moonsault. They're both extremely destructive if you use them right. Finally, we have Popplio. This was actually the most unpopular among the starters, but now that we've seen what it can do, it's been named the best starter to use in Pokemon Sun and Moon. I didn't really pay no attention to his middle evolution, Brionne, but when it evolved into Primarina, holy freaking shit! She's beautiful, majestic, and yet she has powerful water destruction that's just outstanding. Next to Meloetta, Primarina's an excellent singer, especially since she's based off of those mythical sirens that sailors tell tales about. But in this case, Primarina's songs are passed down from one generation to the next. Don't know if they put you to sleep though. With her oceanic operetta, I don't think so. Who can possibly sleep with high-pitched tones like hers? Nobody, you understand? Nobody! Number 2, Kommo-o, or as I like to call him, the Samurai Dragon, because that's what it looks like. A samurai that uses claws that are as sharp as a katana blade sword. I know I said that Salamence was the most badass looking pseudo-legendary dragon Pokemon, but now in Generation 7, I'll have to say, move over Salamence! Kommo-o is in town, and he packs an even better punch than you. This Pokemon reminds me a lot of Lilac from Freedom Planet, being a powerful dragon without wings. You don't have to fly to be strong. His attack is pretty high, but his defenses are even higher thanks to all that sturdy armor. The armor even gives him the bulletproof ability, which can really come in handy in most tight situations. His only downside is his double weakness to fairy types, but you know what? If I can handle that kind of weakness with Pangoro or Hydreigon, then it's no problem with Kommo-o. Plus, I love his signature move, Clanging Scales. That move helps the scaly Pokemon live up to his Pokédex entry. When he spots enemies, he threatens them by jingling scales on his tail. Weak opponents will crack and flee in panic. Enough said there. It seems like I have to cover my ears every time I have to use that move. Most sound-based moves are like that, but Kommo-o's scales are the worst. Yeesh. Before I get to my number 1 favorite Generation 7 Pokemon, here are a few honorable mentions. Magearna. Just like with Diancie in the Cocoon of Destruction, the Pokemon movie titled Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel is the second one I've sat through from beginning to end and loved the whole thing. It was moving, very well animated, engaging, and Volcanion and Magearna were quite a pair. Speaking of her, Magearna is an adorable robotic Pokemon with so much to say, but can't really say it because she doesn't speak. She can understand human speech though. According to her Pokedex entry, it states that she was constructed more than 500 years ago and that her mechanized body is merely a vessel, having her true self as the soul heart, an artificial soul. It didn't seem so artificial to me. How could Meowth detect how she's feeling as she was being used as a weapon of mass destruction in the movie? And it just made me cry the whole way through. There's nothing artificial about that. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It's a robot with a soul, just like the Iron Giant, Baymax, or Wally. Thanks to those three super cool robots, it just comes to show that you don't have to be human to have feelings. Now, if only some cruel animal abusers wouldn't even exist because of this. Drampa. Next to Goodra, this Pokemon is the most adorable dragon type I've ever seen. He reminds me of both of my grandpas from both sides of my family, who have both passed away many years ago. I love them both, and this Pokemon just makes me smile every time I see him. He's also very friendly to children, which is a huge plus to me. He doesn't even mind taking some time out of the mountains to play with them. Talk about loving dedication. One downside about Drampa is that he's slow, but his high special attack makes up for it by a huge margin. Another thing that's a downside that's going to take some time for me to get used to is the fact that he's a normal and dragon type, a first for the franchise. So he's weak against fighting type moves now. It took me by surprise the first time he took a fighting type attack, but now that I do know, it'll be a while before I can be fully aware of it. Other than that though, it's just a peaceful dragon that could go along well with Dragonite and Goodra and be their adoptive Drampa. You get it? Huh? Yeah, y'all get it. Lurantis. A praying mantis is one interesting bug, and this Pokemon gives off the elegance of that insect despite its odd appearance. Lurantis is actually kinda cute in the eyes, but the fact that she's just a grass type kinda puzzles me. This is another Pokemon that's been mistyped. She's clearly based off of a praying mantis, right? Then shouldn't she be a bug type instead of grass? I don't see any form of grass on her. All I see is bug. That would make much more sense. Maybe have her be a bug and fairy type. She does have that fairy vibe written all over all that pink she got on. It just doesn't make any sense. Just because she smells like a flower, that doesn't mean she should be dubbed as a flower and only a flower. Come on, Game Freak. This is your first brand new Pokemon game you've made since X and Y, and you're still lacking logic in your typing for these magnificent creatures. Oh, I love y'all though. Aside from that though, Lawrence's attack is pretty superb for a grass type. And her signature move, Solar Blade, is just simply amazing, both animation wise and power wise. Sure, it needs sunlight in order to work, but it's got 100% accuracy. Something Solar Beam also has. Also, its power is at 120. That's going to pack a huge painful smackdown on Pokemon like Swampert, Quagsire, or Seismitoad that use a berry to try to tone it down. It's not going to work. It's that strong. Serena. This is one bad bitch. Having her being the final evolution of Bounsweet, the cutest looking grass type Pokemon I've ever seen. It's a shocker to see a fierce female Pokemon come out of it. Her overall appearance is gorgeous, but she makes a perfect competitive opponent towards Chestnut, who is a grass and fighting type. Speaking of that, and this is the last time, that should be Serena's type combination, grass and fighting. She can learn a few fighting type moves. She has a signature move called Trop Kick, and her attack is decent. Now, the reason why I said that she's one bad bitch is because of her Pokemon Sun Dex entry. Its long striking legs aren't just for show, but to be used to kick with skill. In victory, it shows off by kicking the defeated, laughing boisterously. That's cruel for such a beautiful grass type Pokemon, and it's just horrible. Most people are like that nowadays in real life, and it's basically the new norm now. It's just awful, and it needs to stop. Leave it to Serena, okay? Wishy-washy. First of all, love the name of this Pokemon. It's adorable. The little fish is just as cute, but it's the school form that blew me away the very first time I saw it during a trial. It's hard to actually count how many Wishy-washy are gathered in that 26-foot tall fish. But that's the only mystery that'll never get out of my head. Of course, in that school form, it has a decent increase in both defenses and probably good increase in special attack as well. Finally, in its solo form, it looks so sad. I want to give it a hug, but I know that would literally be impossible because of two reasons. One, it's a fictional creature, and two, it would probably be too slippery. Just the thought of hugging it will count for now. Oricorio. This elegant bird has so many different forms, thanks to different sources of nectar it can consume. The one I prefer is the Sensu style Oricorio. She shares the same typing combination as Drifloon and Drifblim, but her design is actually quite graceful to me. She kind of looks like a resurrected geisha that was reincarnated into this beautiful bird, and her dance will send the minds and hearts of her enemies to another world. It's obviously a good thing, but at the same time, it sounds pretty scary. If y'all thought Frostlass was spooky, the Sensu style Oricorio is even more foreshadowing. Something tells me that we shouldn't mess with this bird's bad side. It would literally haunt you for years. Maybe. Alolan Raichu. My second favorite Alolan form of an old classic. I know we all love our mascot, Pikachu, but his evolution, Raichu, has been severely ignored for these past 20 years. So, Game Freak figured they finally give him some love and give him an Alolan form, and he looks cool and adorable at the same time. I just love how he levitates off of the ground by his tail, and he can surf the skies and the sparks on it. That's totally radical, dude. He does that during his signature Z move, Stoke Spark Surfer. Animation wise, it's totally awesome. In terms of power, well, it's just as spectacular. Also, giving Raichu an Alolan cousin means that it has the psychic type on the side, and he's now more of a special attacker than physical. Yes! Woohoo! Kartana, the first of the interesting creatures known as Ultra Beasts. It's the smallest out of all of them in terms of size, but it surely isn't in terms of physical attack power. I've really gotten mine to good use at the battle tree, and its design is really cool. It doesn't even bother me that it's dubbed as a grass and steel type instead of just a steel type. In fact, having it being part grass type along with its ability Beast Boost and the Gracium Z crystal I gave mine, it's practically unstoppable. Unless you burn it with fire. Xurkitree, the second Ultra Beast I love. First of all, did you hear its name correctly? Xurkitree. It sounds just like the word circuitry, doesn't it? This has to be the most clever play on words I've ever seen from Game Freak when it comes to naming these creatures. There's not much to be said about it, but its special attack is just downright legendary. I actually love its design. It's weird, but that's how I like it. Let's just say I love it because it's the only other electric type Pokemon I love just as much as my main man Electivire. Those two should be bosom buddies, even though Xurkitree looks like he wouldn't even speak. Pheromosa, the third and final Ultra Beast that I adore. Since I have Pokemon Sun, I could only get this Pokemon through trade. When I did eventually get one from a friend, I just had to find out more about this beautifully designed bug type. It nearly looks like Lusamine, and she was one of my favorite human characters, despite the fact that she was kinda on the evil side. The fact of the matter is about her is that she was pretty and had a twisted mind. And personally, that's alright with me. Anyway, back to Pheromosa. What a gorgeous cockroach. She's the fastest among all of the Ultra Beasts, and her attack and special attack is equally through the roof. But her defenses are terrible. That's alright though. With her speed being nearly off the charts, Beast Boost will probably boost her speed even more, making her so fast she would probably beat Sonic the Hedgehog, Lilac, and a race car combined. Also, why is she called Pheromosa? Well, it turns out that she produces some sort of disarming pheromone that's unknown to science, and she causes anyone nearby to instantly become awestruck by her presence. That explains it. I mean, come on though. she is extremely beautiful after all. She probably wouldn't even need those pheromones. Her appearance is attractive enough. Of course, having her being a bug and fighting type makes her quad weak to flying type attacks, but hey, that's okay. She's quick, so, she'll attack first before they do, every single time. And now, on to my all-time favorite Alolan resident. Number 1, Golisopod. This was the must-have bug-type Pokemon to have. He is a monster. Look at him. Next to Vikavolt, he's the second most badass bug type that I don't mind using. His appearance makes him the most superior among every single bug type Pokemon in the entire franchise. Those massive claws are nothing to play with. The Pokédex says so. With a flashing splash of its giant sharp claws, it cleaves seawater or even air right in two. How in the hell do you slash air in two? If he's that powerful to slash air, then he sure is a deadly specimen. But then again, he can be peaceful on the side as well. It battles skillfully with its 6 arms, but spends most of its time peacefully meditating in caves deep beneath the sea. In Pokemon Sun, he's a monster. In Pokemon Moon, he's cool, calm, and collected. Simply put, in this case, Golisopod can be the perfect balance of strong and soft. He also has the highest defense out of every bug type we all know and love. It can take on several rock type attacks before his ability Emergency Exit forces him out. All in all, I love this new Gen 7 Pokemon the most. He's just simply incredible. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Picking out those choices was not easy, but in the end, as you can see, it turned out just fine. Here's hoping future Pokemon games will be just as good, and this time, Game Freak, get those types right on these creatures. You really screwed up with some of them, and we surely don't want to repeat for future games. I'm just glad that no matter what, we all still love you because of what you do best. Make sure you don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share with me what your favorite Sun and Moon Pokemon are in the comment section below. Y'all have a good day, be kind to one another, stay positive, and stay electric. Evolectivire out. Deuces!